start with the softball. What are you most excited about fans seeing in season 2?
It's just an up in action. When reading it, when watching back, actually when I watched back that teaser, it reminded me a lot of what we've been doing this season, and it is that. It's like just everything is on a bigger scale this time. It's like we get more action, we get more explosions, we get more everything. So I think that, and also there's going to be a couple. How much I want to say? There's going to be a couple. A couple comic references as well from the comic book characters from the comic books. We'll be making an entrance too into the series, so that was super exciting getting to read it as a fan as well.
Cool. He in the first episode, he has to do a favor. He's not sure what the favor is. Does he feel a little guilt as a result of what's happened to do this favor? I don't want to give anything away. Dubious kind of guy, I guess you could say.
A favor for
yes.
He filmed it a while ago.
6 months ago.
Yeah, the painting, for example, but you thought it might have been something more than just painting a room.
Oh, I remember. Okay, yeah. Very first episode. So what was the question? So
yeah, do you think he's doing it because he kind of feels a little guilt for letting everybody down?
I think that has to do with it. Yeah, I mean, at that moment, that towards the beginning of the series, they've all kind of turned on him a bit, and he doesn't have the same standing as he once had. And so I think it's important to him that he comes through for the team. And so yeah, maybe he does feel a little bit of guilt. Maybe he feels like he needs to step up in order to provide. And so that's kind of where they find themselves at the beginning, where they can't provide for themselves. And so he's willing to do what it takes in order to provide for his quote-unquote family.
What dynamic are you most excited for fans to see explored in the second season between Alex and whatever characters?
I think there's a great. I think between him and Darius, especially at the beginning there, I think you guys might have seen a little bit of it. It's really interesting. He kind of in the process of finding himself. He's also learning a lot about his father's past life, and that kind of is what's driving him through the series on making sure to take them down as they tried in the first season. And so yeah, that dynamic between Alex and Darius is super exciting to play.
Compared to the sort of the comics versus the show, how close do you feel that Alex's journey is to the books in like the second season?
Definitely. I mean, I guess in terms of the plot, it's all coming together now. Like, in the first few issues of the first volume of Runaways, they run away, and now we finally get to see that kind of story play out. So in a lot of ways, I think it's much closer than the first season. So yeah, I think it is. I think it is much closer this time.
Just following up on that, were you familiar with the comics before the show, or how far have you delved into them now that you're on the show?
I stopped right at the end of the first volume when my character ceased to exist. That's when I said I probably don't need to read it anymore.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but no, I got into the comics after I had learned about the audition. Then I read them. I had not read them before.
Do Stephanie and them, do they encourage you guys to explore that material outside of like the scripts that they give you?
I guess if I think about it, they've expressed their love for the comics plenty of times, so through that you say, okay, let me check it out as well.
Sure.
I don't think they ever said, read this one in specific in order to understand this and this. I don't think that's ever happened, but we've all taken it upon ourselves to read the first volume every now.
So with a young cast, 6 of you guys, that I imagine hopefully you get along pretty well. Is it hard to get work done? Because it seems like you guys are maybe just having fun all the time.
We are having a good time. I mean, yeah, we have fun, but you got to fit a lot in a day. You got a lot of scenes, you got a lot of pages to do. So we're good enough at our job that we can finish the season on time. But it is a really good time. I get along with my cast members, so we have fun all the time. We make maybe. I guess if I had to pick one, it would be me on the prank side, who starts up a few things. But no, so yeah, we have fun. We have plenty of fun.
Anything in particular?
There was a bit there where it was hostile. It was really hostile on the set when we started these bread wars up. There was prop bread, and I grabbed it, I threw it to Greg, and then it all chaos. Like the next 2 weeks, we were just terrorizing each other with fake loaves of bread. Yeah. A bunch of videos on my Instagram if you guys want to check it out.
That's awesome.
it seems like even just in the first episode of the new season, you guys are coming together not only as a team but as a family.
Yeah.
Is that like one of the core themes of this season?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in the situation that they find themselves in, with those circumstances, they sort of have to come together. If they don't, they'll be, they're stronger together than they are alone. So definitely in the second season, even more so, they come together and they help each other, and then they're there for each other this time. And that's super exciting to see as well. Getting to see all 6 of them come together and work together to do what they have to do. Yeah.
The relationships with the parents are an interesting dynamic because you guys aren't necessarily on screen with them all the time because you're running away. What do you get to interact with the actors play parents? Have you guys been able to bond with them at all?
Through table reads. That's about it. I don't even read. I love hearing it for the first time, so I'll read all of Runaways scenes, anything that I'm in. But when I'm reading before the table read, and then once I get there, I get to sit back and watch them. It's like me watching the show, through the words of it. So I don't get to talk to them much, and possibly later in the season, interactions happen. But yeah, so I've got to talk. Yeah, we speak onto them on a weekly basis, but never, not too much.
Following up on that, because just curious, you talked about like reading the Runaway scenes first, and then literally watching the show at the table read.
Right.
Is that a conscious choice, or are they just only giving you the Runaway scenes? Like what?
No, thankfully I get the whole script.
Oh.
Yeah. There's some. I think the guest stars, they only get their scene, and like maybe a day before the table read. And so they're pretty strict on it, but they give us the whole scoop, thankfully.
Great. Okay, we're gonna move on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, of course, Mike.
Thank you much.